Welcome, scholars, to this research study over the myth of the cave. I want to begin by talking about reality, or rather your perceptions of reality. Let's imagine for a moment that this blue field on your screen represents the whole of your perceptions. This constitutes the whole of your reality. Now, what do you see here? Some of you might say you see a line, some might say a skinny black rectangle. And that's true from your perspective, based on your perceptions, the whole of your reality. That's what this object is a line. But what if I was able to let you change your perceptions or broaden them in such a way that you could move in a different direction and turn the object and see that it's in fact a much larger black rectangle and you were merely viewing it from the side before? Now this constitutes the whole of your reality or perception. The object itself has not changed, but your perceptions have been broadened, and so your reality has fundamentally changed. Now, what would happen though if I were to turn on the lights? Now we see that once again your perception has greatly changed. The object has remained the same. This was always the famous 18th century painting by Jacques-Louis David, The Death of Socrates, but it took altering your perceptions and changing your realities for you to find that out, for you to discover the truth behind what this object was. It's all about perception. Your perceptions make up your reality, and it's your job as a scholar to broaden those perceptions until you find ultimate truth or the actual reality. Unfortunately, your job as a scholar is also to remain constantly skeptical that your reality may not in fact be the actual reality, the truth. This never-ending cycle is the crux of Plato's beliefs on learning and enlightenment, and it's what he builds his allegory on in The Cave. As with all of these research studies, I try to tie them back into the thematic focus of English 3, and that's the American identity, its origins, its ideals, and its contradictions, who we are, where we came from, and why aren't we always what we say we are. Tying this back into the American identity, even though we're reading a piece that was written 2,400 years ago, I want you guys to think about my opening day lecture and the opening day writing task that we did on intelligence, the value of intelligence and intellect. And I need to make a key distinction that I wasn't able to make on that first day. Richard Hofstadter, in his book, Anti-Intellectualism in American Life, actually defined in the very first chapter, in his introduction, the difference between these two terms. He says that intelligence is the ability to do things, while intellect is the ability to understand why things are done the way they are done and criticize why they are done that way. Our society, and I believe we came to this conclusion in many classes, our society seems to value intelligence, being able to do things, but not intellect, being able to understand things. And I think it's because of this, because being able to do things makes you a productive member of society. I can build a cabinet, therefore I can help improve people's homes, or I can balance a spreadsheet, therefore I can make this company money. But those who criticize, those who try to improve intellect, are often viewed as destructive to society. I see a flaw in the way we balance our spreadsheets. We need to completely rebuild the way our company does our bookkeeping. Well, do you know how much money that's going to cost? You're limiting this company's profit margin. Or I see that the way you make that cabinet isn't quite correct. It's going to fall apart in a couple of years. Well, do you know how many jobs you just cost this particular cabinet making plant or whatever in my hypothetical scenario? Many people also seem to resent intellect for another reason, because of our natural American anti-exceptionalist attitudes. Our nation was, after all, founded on equal opportunity for all, on that absolute egalitarianism. But unfortunately, over the last few hundred years of our existence, this concept has been perverted into a sort of sameness for all rather than equal opportunity for all. Plato would believe that such sentiments regarding the dislike of intellect, they all stem from fear. People fear intellectual advancement because they are uncomfortable, or because they are comfortable, and it is very difficult. Studying, learning, that is a very difficult thing to do, and it's difficult to visualize the end product. People fear this also because they do not understand. Again, they cannot see that end product. If I were a carpenter and I wanted to build a cabinet, well, I can visualize the end product. It is a cabinet. But if I wanted to better understand perhaps the fundamental properties of the wood I use or the glue I use, well, then there's literally no limit to what I can learn about the biology of the trees from which the lumber is cut, the chemical makeup of the glues, and so on and so forth. And so we kind of fear stepping into the unknown because we have trouble understanding and seeing that end outcome. This is what Plato illustrates in his allegory, and that's all I'm going to say about that. A couple of quick notes. First, on the cave, I wanted to provide you with an illustration. Plato does a pretty good job of describing in words what this cave looks like, what his allegorical hypothetical cave looks like. But unfortunately, he's describing something that wouldn't appear in the world for another 2,300 years. He's describing the modern movie theater, actually, and here he is in the 5th century BC. So here we have, on the floor of the cave, picture tens of thousands of people all strapped rigidly into seats with their heads affixed so that they can only face the cave wall. They cannot look side to side at all. Behind them and above them is a walkway, and behind that is a raging fire, a really brilliant fire that's casting light onto the wall in front of the people. Now, on this walkway are puppeteers, people walking back and forth carrying various objects, casting shadows onto the wall. Now, down here there is an exit to the cave, but you cannot see the sunlight outside from where these people are. It's too far away. So that's the illustration of the cave. Try to keep that in mind as you're reading Plato's description. Some key vocabulary. You'll always have key vocabulary with these research studies. Go ahead and write these down in your notebooks. First word, discourse, the noun. Discourse means communication of thought by words. It's another word for talk or conversation or dialogue, communicating with one another. That's what discourse is. Here's a sample sentence for you. Even if we don't agree, we can engage in civil discourse, meaning civilized conversation. All right, second term. The human condition. This is a concept that you need to know about because I'm going to mention it a lot, and it's going to reappear in a lot of things that we read. The human condition is that unalterable part of humanity that is inherent and innate to human beings and not dependent on factors such as gender, race, culture, class, etc. These are those fundamental aspects of humanity, regardless of who you are, where you come from, what you were born like. The human condition encompasses those unique features of being human as opposed to being some other animal on the planet, particularly those ultimate concerns of our own existence. We are unique as a species in that we concern ourselves with existential questions such as, why are we here? What is our mission in life? What is the good life? Those sorts of things. And all of that falls under the purview of the human condition. Here's an example for you by Eugen Ionesco. No society has been able to abolish human sadness. No political system can deliver us from the pain of living, from our fear of death, our thirst for the absolute. It is the human condition that directs the social condition, not vice versa. With that, go ahead and begin your research study.